Quick question. Do you see leadership as writing more rules or tearing them down? Most organizations pile on rules, vacation forms, approvals, sign-offs, when in fact they are often signs of mistrust. But some companies flip the script. Netflix, for example, they cut the rules and chose trust. Take vacation when you want, spend money responsibly, and give fearless feedback to each other. And it worked because adults were finally treated like adults. Netflix isn't alone. Basecamp runs on being calm. Frederic Laloux in his research found that teal organizations are thriving. And also corporate rebels documented dozens more examples. It's different flavors, but it's the same idea. Trust scales better than bureaucracy. But here are the real questions. How does this work? And does it always work? Let's get digging. Hey, my name is Greg from RenU. I'm a master coach helping people, teams, and organizations to know, design, and become themselves. RenU and I are here to help you live a life where you have control. For decades, companies survive on a plethora of rules and systems: vacation approval, travel policies, expense forms, purchase approval, etc. At Netflix, they asked, what if we just deleted them? They remove vacation policies altogether. People simply take time off when it makes sense. No approvals needed. Same with expenses. Buy what you need as if it were your own money. No more manager signatures. Most leaders hear this and think, but that's total chaos. Netflix calls it freedom and responsibility. The freedom to act and the responsibility to make smart choices. Think of it like training wheels on a bicycle. Most organizations keep them on forever. It's safe, yes, but it's slow and awkward. Netflix decided, take them off. If you fall, you'll learn faster. And if you ride well, you'll go further than ever. This isn't about anarchy. It's about a deliberate bet that trusting talented people produces better results than controlling them with endless rules. A coaching question for you. What's one training wheel, one unnecessary rule you're keeping in place that signals mistrust in your team? As an exercise, write down the top 3 processes or approvals in your organization today. For each, ask yourself honestly, does this process exist to enable trust? Or is it simply there to control fear? Circle the one that feels most outdated. That's your candidate for removal. Every rule you keep sends a message. Sometimes it's safety, but often it's I don't trust you. And people feel that. Here's a paradox for you to consider. Rules are designed to protect us from the weakest performers, but they also hold back the best performers. Consider that rules prevent disasters, yes, but they also slow down innovation, decisions, and initiative. Netflix bets that with the right people in the room, trust beats bureaucracy every time. Trust is like compound interest. Invest a little and it multiplies over time. The danger is that many leaders obsess over guarding against the bottom 5%, the mistakes, the bad apples, while ignoring the top 95% who could flourish if given more space. And if you want to learn a lot more about the 4 key components of trust, check this out. The coaching reflection. Where in your team are you taxing people with rules instead of investing in their trust? Think of the last failure in your team. Map it. Was the root cause really a lack of rules, or was it a lack of trust and feedback? 9 times out of 10, it's the latter. Rules prevent yesterday's mistakes. Trust creates tomorrow's breakthrough. You like this video so far? Then you know what to do. Also subscribe and put on notifications if you want to receive content like this every week. Check out other YouTube videos from famous YouTube channels in the video description. It's always good to take a look at a topic through multiple lenses. Freedom without feedback is just drifting. Netflix knew this. If you give people full autonomy, you also need to create a culture where feedback flows constantly. At Netflix, people are encouraged to give open, candid feedback, up, down, and sideways. At Basecamp, it's quieter but similar. Honest conversations replace endless approvals. Both approaches work because they rely on the same principle. Adults need clarity more than control. The beauty of fearless feedback is that it doesn't just correct mistakes, it builds confidence. It's a signal that says, I see you and I care enough to be honest with you. Much more about how to give and receive powerful feedback right here. The coaching question. When was the last time you invited your team to give you feedback on your own leadership? As an exercise, try the 4A model this week. The first A is for asking feedback. The second A is for appreciating it, even if it stings. The third A is for acting on it visibly. And the fourth A is about adjusting your behavior so people see their voice matters. When feedback becomes normal, trust stops being an idea and starts being a habit. Netflix isn't the only company rewriting the leadership playbook. Across the world, different voices are pointing to the same direction. Fewer rules, more trust. Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansson at Basecamp call it the calm company. They stripped away meetings, approvals, and busy work so people could actually do their jobs without burning out. The corporate rebels traveled the globe to study progressive workplaces. They found organizations across industries, manufacturing, services, even government, ditching bureaucracy in favor of trust, transparency, and self-management. And Frederic Laloux in Reinventing Organizations describes teal cultures built on self-management, wholeness, and evolutionary purpose. These aren't just theories, they are living systems, real examples of companies. It's different flavors, but it's one core principle. Treat adults like adults, and they will give you their best. Coaching reflection for you. Which of these models speaks most to your context? Netflix speed and candor, Basecamp calm and focus, Laloux's wholeness and self-management? Pick one practice to experiment with. Remove one small policy, add one radical act of transparency, or start a new feedback ritual. Try it for 30 days and observe how your team responds. When you see the same principle show up in Netflix, Basecamp, and dozens of high-performing organizations, you know it's not a fad, it's a movement. Many leaders hear stories about Netflix or Basecamp and rush to copy them. They cut rules overnight, expecting instant magic. But culture change doesn't work like that. The integral model reminds us that transformation has to happen in all four quadrants. The mindset: leaders need the inner maturity, humility, tolerance for ambiguity, and courage to let go of control. Then you have the behaviors. Leaders must walk the talk, model candor, keep promises, invite feedback. Then you have cultures and norms. Teams need shared agreements, habits of trust, not habits of fear. And they also need systems. Policies, structures, and incentives must reinforce trust, not punish it. If you only change one quadrant, say the system, then you can get chaos. Delete the rules without changing mindsets or norms, and people panic. If you change mindsets but keep rigid systems, people feel inspired and trapped. Much more about these four quadrants of the integral model right here. A coaching reflection. Which quadrant is your blind spot right now? Mindset, behavior, culture, or systems? As an exercise, rate your team 1 to 5 in each quadrant, 1 being the lowest score and 5 the highest score. Which one scores lowest? That's where to take one deliberate action this week. Trust-based leadership sticks when all four quadrants align. Otherwise, it's like a table with a missing leg. It won't hold the weight. Now let's talk about something deeper. Why do some leaders thrive in a no-rules, high-trust culture, while others recreate bureaucracy the moment they feel unsafe? Ego development theory gives us a clue. At earlier stages of consciousness maturity, like being a conformer or an achiever, leaders seek certainty. Rules feel comforting because they reduce ambiguity. When pressure builds, they instinctively add more control. But at later stages of maturity consciousness, the strategist or the autonomous, leaders can hold paradox, navigate complexity, and align decisions with values. They don't need rules to feel safe. They can trust people because they've learned to trust themselves. Imagine a thermostat. At lower stages of consciousness, leaders need right settings, always 21 degrees, no exceptions. At higher stages of consciousness, they can adapt to the seasons, the people in the room, the bigger system. And a coaching reflection. When was the last time you changed your mind publicly based on your team's feedback? That's not a weakness, it's maturity. Try a monthly assumption audit. Ask yourself, which rule, control, or approval am I holding on to because of fear? Replace it with a practice of trust, a transparent decision, shared responsibility, or a feedback loop. In the end, the culture you create reflects the maturity of your leadership. As you grow, so does the trust you are able to give. Let's be clear, a no-rules, high-trust culture isn't a silver bullet. It thrives in some contexts and struggles in others. Where it works. Environments that demand creativity, innovation, and speed like tech, media, design, consulting. Teams with high talent density and enough maturity to handle freedom responsibility. With leaders who are ready to model candor and vulnerability, not just talk about it. But it might struggle in those cases. Industries where safety is non-negotiable, aviation, healthcare, nuclear energy. In these spaces, some rules and bureaucracy, they are literally life-saving. And in teams without psychological safety, if people don't trust each other yet, removing rules just creates anxiety. Now, it's not always about the industry. Even in hospitals, we see self-managed nursing teams succeed. Even in government, we see departments experimenting with transparency and autonomy. So the better question isn't, does this work in my industry? But what level of maturity does my team and my leadership have today? Think of rules like scaffolding. In some projects, you need them to keep the structure safe. In others, leaving them up too long only blocks the sunlight. And a coaching question for you. Which rules in your context are truly safety critical and which are just comfort blankets? Take this exercise. Create 2 columns with your team. Column 1, rules we cannot live without because they protect life, safety, or ethics. Column 2, rules that we keep only for control. Start by removing 1 item from column 2 this month. A no-rules culture isn't about throwing everything away. It's about keeping the scaffolding where it's needed and trusting people everywhere else. So what do we take from Netflix, Basecamp, Laloux, and all the research? Leading in a post-bureaucratic age isn't about removing every rule. It's about knowing which rules protect us and which rules hold us back. When we trust, we give people freedom. When we pair it with feedback and clarity, that freedom becomes responsibility. There is a quote I love from Robert Keegan. People grow best where they continuously experience an ingenious blend of challenge and support. One key aspect to reach high levels of maturity and trust in teams is raising the level of emotional intelligence. If you're curious, then check this out.